The United States and the Tariffs of Doom. We're going to be looking at various articles on this, you guys. Let's just dive straight into it. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with a multitude of pieces and videos with the headline of the United States and the Tariffs of Doom. So, as you guys know, whenever the guys see this, obviously, I'm sure everyone who has their head out of under the rock will have seen Donald Trump imposing global tariffs, a minimum of 10% tariffs on all global trades. But obviously, this is going to be developing over the course of the next couple of days. So obviously, as I give some of the information to you guys, some things can change over the next course of days because of negotiations that other countries and nations and businesses that will be trying to stop Donald Trump and the United States from doing this. So before I read into the first couple of pieces and that, I want to give you guys my thoughts on my initial reactions to this. I was generally surprised is the first word that came to my mind about the decision to only impose 10% on the United Kingdom in terms of all tariffs. I thought that was very extremely blessing, but extremely blessing on our part, considering some of the decisions of some of the tariffs on there. It's pretty clear if you went back and watched the videos from when Trump did the speech. Clearly, Donald Trump did not know did not know anything about that board. He did not know about those numbers whatsoever. It's pretty clear to me that while he loves tariffs and all this kind of thing, and he's saying a lot of things, he does not have a genuine clue of what is going on. Everyone who is blaming Donald Trump, I really honestly say he is not the mastermind behind this. Okay, there are strings being pulled behind him. Yes, you can call it Trump's tariffs, you can call it Donald Trump's tariffs, but he's just a public face figure. It's people behind him who are doing this, and they're doing this to engineer a global recession. First, they want to engineer a American recession. They want to engineer a recession so that they can sweep up more businesses, more corporations, and the rich and the wealthy in America can sweep up more of that. So those the powerful, the millionaires, the powerful billionaires want to sweep up more businesses, more prompts in America. So those who are already on the lowest of incomes in America, you're done. You really, really are done. Like, you're struggling to survive. It's going to be near to next impossible for you. And this is at the same time while they're gutting the welfare state in America as well. Like, it is really, really bad for Americans. One headline I saw from CNN last night was up to, I think it was like $6 trillion that Americans could be paying for all these tariffs potentially on this as well. Now, I've said this before when I've spoken about the when I've spoken about why is Donald Trump doing this, why is America doing this, and here's the thing is that what I try to use this from a logical point of view. It's very hard to put a logical point of view into why they're doing this. Now, and as somebody who doesn't really have a full understanding of economics, and please feel free to add your economic expertise down in the comments below to this video because I really generally appreciate it. But I try to put some logic behind everything that is done, and one of the logics that I've been looking at more and more whenever I talk about this or think about this is about America. Okay, America first, American jobs first, American workers first, American this. Well, if that's the case, Regan, why are they hurting America? They are hurting America, but they're also hurting the global economy. The intention, in my view, is to basically say you need to stop buying everything from outside, stop buying things outside the US. You need to stop buying components, parts, pieces, anything that you buy outside of the US, you're going to pay the price for this. If you are in America, if you have an American business, if you are relying solely on all your things coming from America and nothing outside, it will be beneficial to you in the long term. Yes, it will be beneficial to you in the long term. That's essentially it. The message that Donald Trump is saying is stop producing things outside the United States. Start producing in the United States. Stop relying on all these countries. for your clothing, for your cars, for your essential basically needs in America. If you're an American, stop buying foreign. Basically, is the message what he's trying to do here. The counter problem to this is that, and this is kind of the same issue here in the UK when you think about it, because like all the clothes that I'm literally wearing right now, none of them are from the UK. They're all from probably from Bangladesh or somewhere from Asia, because they're cheap. And this is the same situation that you have in America, where lots of people are buying these things from these countries because and they're getting them from these shops in America because it's cheaper for them. It's cheap. And people don't want to spend more than they have to. American products are not essentially going to, my thought process is that, is he hoping that by forcing people to spend more on America, that American prices things on American goods, like American clothes, American cars, American things, that those prices are going to go down in the long term? Is that the theory that I'm trying to establish here? And this is kind of the mindset I'm trying to think about on this. That's where I think this is. And he obviously wants to bring back U.S. manufacturing to the United States as well, to bring back the American worker as well. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. Yes, this is going to bring a lot of pain, and I generally believe more people will be pushed into poverty as a direct result of this. Many businesses will go bust as a direct result of this as well. Make no mistake about it, the global economy is going to get shook badly by this. There is no question about this. Even if you are a country with minimal tariffs, you're still going to get hurt by this. Britain, we are going to feel the ripple effects. I said that whatever America does will have a ripple effect on the global economy, which in turn will have a ripple effect on us. And what they are doing to some of the nations in Asia, where a lot of their clothes and parts and whatnot that they get from the likes of China, Vietnam, that damage, that cost that Trump is that America is imposing on them, is going to have a ripple effect, not just on America, back at America, because they will do retaliatories against them, but it's also going to have a knock-on effect on the global economy and on other nations who rely on those as well. So we are going to feel the sting, not just from the 10% tariffs and other tariffs that he's going to be applying globally on certain things. We are going to feel the effects from the knock-on, the counter effects by the likes of China and other nations against the US, because they will ripple back on the global economy, which in turn will hurt us. So we are in a very difficult situation, because guess what? Britain relies on a lot of things from abroad, because that's the kind of nation and economy that we've built for ourselves. And we can't do everything British, so we're going to feel it. We are going to feel it one way or another. Like, I'm all for British jobs, for British workers, and having British things, everything made in Britain here. The problem is cost, guys. The problem is cost. So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts about all of this. But please break down your thoughts down in the comments below as we go through all this, guys. So the first article I want to show you here is from the Financial Times, and by the way, I will leave links to all these in the description. The ones that I will be sharing with you, they are paid ones, so I do want to stress that as well. So this is Donald Trump's tariffs in brief, universal levies and target retaliations here. So Donald Trump announced sweeping new tariffs on US imports on Wednesday, taking the global economy into a new era of trade competition. So the measures announced on the White House Rose Garden during what Trump dubbed Liberation Day included a baseline universal levy as well as target reciprocal tariffs. So many economists fear the levies will raise inflation in the world's largest economy, but they could endure until Trump believes his goals, including raising revenue and reviving manufacturing in the US, have been met. So here's a couple of small measures, basically to break it down, try to simplify it for people who don't fully understand it, which is hence me, because I don't have a detail. Like I said, I'm not an economics, so my brain isn't at that capacity when it comes to other people here. But I'm trying to help for those who maybe try to help maybe those who might have who may not have not as much as an understanding like I do. Perhaps that's why I'm making this video, to try and help some of you guys out as well, if it does help you. So a baseline tariff of 10% imports on all countries. So every single country is going to get 10% on imports. Apparently, some countries that don't exist are also going to get 10% imports as well, which is a bit that countries in some of the listing that was on that list as well, and are going to get 10% imports. So countries that actually don't exist are going to get 10% imports. I found it funny, and I do have to laugh about this. Apparently, the Chagos Islands are also going to get 10% imports. So does that mean that the Diego Garcia military base of US and UN military, they're going to be paying 10% as well? Just wanted to put that one out there for you guys. So yeah, they didn't. They probably missed a couple of countries as well, which is a bit, yeah. So an individual reciprocal higher tariffs of the 60 worst offenders countries in which the US says it has the largest trade deficits. So reciprocal tariffs will range from 10% to 50%. The exact levy is based on what the White House Council of Economic Advisors think that the sum of tariffs and non-tariff barriers to US goods. Half of that level will be applied to imported from the 60 countries. Yeah. So how has the US done this, and when will the tariffs begin? The US President has deployed emergency powers to impose the new tariffs. The administration has declared a national emergency due to the security and economic security concerns arising from the conditions reflected in large and persistent annual US goods trade deficit. The first tariffs will apply within days. US officials said the basic tariff of 10% would take effect from 12:01 a.m. on Saturday the 5th of April, while high reciprocal tariffs would apply from 12:01 a.m. on Thursday the 9th of April. So from this Saturday, basically, by the time, or probably after maybe Saturday, that's when it will be taken into effect. So which countries have been hit? A 20% tariff has been imposed on the European Union, reflecting Donald Trump's long-standing animosity to what he says are the blog's unfair trade practices. Now, the EU said at the time of this recording, they said they haven't made the decision what action they're going to take on them, as is many other leaders are kind of just right now. World leaders at the time of this are just taking a step back, looking at this all very carefully before they make decisions on this. I know that the Prime Minister, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had a Cobra meeting. I don't know if it was a Cobra meeting, but he had a cabinet meeting this morning on this as well. Because even though it's still 10%, Labour government obviously want to try and get out of this 10%, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it, if I'm honest. Trump says the goods from China will be hit with a 34% reciprocal tariff. Crucially, this will be on top of an existing 20% tariff, taking the levy imposed by the presidents on the imports of the US second largest trading partner to at least 54%. This is absolutely brutal. This is going to hurt China and America so badly. They do have strong trading relationships there. You know, we talked about the trading war between America and China before. This is brutal. This is absolutely going to be brutal for China. They are going to respond quite harshly, but we'll see obviously over the next couple of days how they respond. UK goods will face duties of only 10%. Small victory for London that will also raise hopes of a quick trade deal with the US. Japan will get a tariff of 24%, striking a blow to the US closest military ally. Yeah, that's a terrible one for Japan as well. Japan relies a lot on US military allies to protect themselves in that area. Some of the Southeast Asia export powerhouses are hit with tariffs of almost 50%. Cambodia was given a reciprocal rate of 49%, followed closely by Lagos with 48% and Vietnam with 46%. Other countries with tariffs on more than 40% include Sri Lanka with 44%, Madagascar with 47%, and Myanmar with 44%. The tiny French territory of St. Pierre and Miquelon off the new coast of Newfoundland in Canada was also hit with a 50% levy. So, Regan, why some of these why some of these countries here? So and I'm, again, feel free to expand on this down in the comments below. So like I said, a lot of cheap things that Western nations get from the likes of China, Vietnam, they don't always come directly from those countries. They pass through other countries. So, for example, the clothes that I wear are made from Bangladesh. Doesn't necessarily mean they get transferred straight from Bangladesh to the UK. They go through other countries. This is Trump's. This is basically America's way of saying, we're going to stop you guys from sending cheap crap to us. We're going to make you pay your fair share. Basically, this is essentially what it is. So some of this goes through Sri Lanka, Madagascar. Myanmar is in a civil war right now, and they're getting hit with a 44%. I'm just you do realize there's something a bit going on at the moment with them. Ukraine also got hit with tariffs as well. But it's not just about hitting the countries So from this perspective, it's not just about hitting the countries that are producing the cheap goods and importing them into the US, which is in turn hurting the American economy in their point of view, because they want to rely only on American goods and American goods, American stuff, American business, American this and that, because they want to stop relying on imports from some of these cheap countries who, in their mindset, are ripping off the American economy. This is their perception, in my view, of how they are seeing it. But they're also hitting the countries that they're passing it through as well. That's how I'm seeing it from this perspective. So, are there any exemptions? Mexico and Canada, who have been frequent targets of Trump's attacks in recent weeks, will dodge reciprocal tariffs. Duties of 45% for goods that do not comply with the terms in their 2020 trade deal with the US will remain in place. Cars, sort of. The White House said cars and car parts already hit with 25% tariff and absolutely would be spared an extra reciprocal tariffs, but the levy will apply from April the 3rd, Trump said. Yeah, so there will be a 25% tariff on cars there. So, yeah, the cost of buying a car in the US is going to be it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really, really bad getting a car now in America. And it's also going to hurt... like, we still have some of our own car manufacturers here in the UK, and we don't export many to the US, I don't believe, but it is still going to hurt us nonetheless, this one. Bulletin, energy and minerals not found in the US will also be spared with reciprocal tariffs. Semiconductors, pharmaceutical, copper and lumber will not attract the same reciprocal tariffs, but Trump has already announced probes that could lead to tariffs into copper and lumber and signaled that he will do the same for pharmaceutical and computer chips. Yeah, he's looking that I know that there was something they would do towards lumber when it comes to lumber from Canada and a couple of other things there. Semiconductors, obviously, he would rather not have them not be getting them in Taiwan. He would rather them having been built in the US. But because Taiwan obviously builds the semiconductors there, that's how I think they'd be able to, because they don't really have any resources themselves on that island themselves. The fact that they were able to produce and manufacture semiconductors is the reason. And they are some of the most powerful semiconductors on the planet, which is why so many countries get them from that country. If America was to stop getting semiconductors from Taiwan, it would greatly weaken their economy, that is for sure. So that's an interesting one. Pharmaceuticals, that's really bad, obviously, in terms of healthcare there. So how long will the tariffs last? Deals may be possible, but it would depend on Trump. The executive order announced in the new tariffs said the president could decrease or limit in scope the duties if any trading partner could take significant steps to remedy non-reciprocal trade tariffs and align sufficiently with the United States in economic and national security matters. So like I said, we will see responses from world leaders, but what we'll also see is that people will be contacting the Trump administration over the next coming days to try to talk to Donald Trump, talk about some of the tariffs and deals and try to get out of them and negotiate with them. And I think perhaps maybe negotiating with US may be better than just simply hitting them back with tariffs. That might be the better option. We know that China's been hit the hardest here, so I'm not sure how they're going to respond. But yeah, but every country's going to take things differently. US officials have signaled that they are focused on applying the tariffs. Certainly, countries are only interested in trying to see what they can do to have more reciprocal tariffs, a senior White House official said. For the moment, we are very, very focused on getting the tariff regime in place. The tariffs could also go higher. The executive order warns that any retaliations by countries to the measures announced on Wednesday would be met with more levies from the US. So this is the thing. They say if you hit us back, we're going to hit you even harder. Is what the US are basically saying here. Is what they're warning if anybody tries to take them on. Well, the thing is that while the US does have one of the largest economies in the global economy, which I think was reported about 13% of the global economy. They are not the only economy. There are other economies out there. So while will hurt the global economy and will hurt others, it will also obviously mean that a lot of people and a lot of businesses and a lot of countries will just do business outside the US. And this is where the United States of America will head towards more isolationist as well, I believe, as well. What is the purpose of the tariffs? To reduce US trade deficit. It's been a long-standing goal. Trump's officials blame massive and chronic US trade deficits for eroding manufacturing capacity, suppressing wages, and transferring assets to foreign hands. To force companies to move manufacturing to the US, Trump hopes businesses will set up shop in the country to avoid the tariffs, creating more jobs. The goal is to restore Americans' greatness and prosperity for everyday American workers in their communities, a US official has said. This is the long-term goal, and this is something that's going to take years to do. Whether or not they'll be able to do that is another thing. rectify unfair trade practices. White House officials said Trump has been unequivocal for decades about his commitment to rectifying the unfair trade practices that our foreign trading partners, both friends and foe alike, and raise revenue for the US to help pay for the deep tax cuts. While US officials did not cite this as the reason for the tariffs, they said these levies would raise hundreds of billions of dollars in any given year, or trillions over a 10-year period. I think, yeah, they said as much. There will be the money. The idea is obviously that the tariffs would raise the money for the American coffers, so that they could scrap the likes of income tax, for example. They basically, Donald Trump and the Trump administration want tariffs to be their source of income now instead of taxes. They want it to come from tariffs. Again, whether that will work or not, I'm not entirely sure. I wanted to show you guys also these couple of graphs here, a couple from here on Twitter. I just wanted to share with you guys here. So this was from the Financial Times. The US tariffs will rise to levels not seen since the Great Depression should Donald Trump's new measures go into effect in the coming days. This is what the estimates are from the FT here. This is the new effective tariff rate, could be the highest in the century. Effective tariff rate percentage historic and estimates. This is what they're estimating, the upper estimate and lower estimates. So this is what they're predicting on the increase of them. Estimates on non-comprehensive effective tariffs rates equal custom duty revenue as proportioned on good imports there. So this is their prediction there. I also want to share this one also from the Financial Times here. The US has escalated the global trade war with sweeping new tariffs, and that will hit the EU and some of the poorest countries in the world with the hardest. And like I said, there's the piece we just read there, and you can see there the US goods imports there in terms of billions of dollars, and the new reciprocal tariffs there. You can see on left to right there on some of the countries. There's actually a much this was only countries that were named in the press conference that were shown there, but you can see there, obviously EU and China, they're very, very high there. This I just wanted to share this one, but we'll see this in another article in just a moment. It's just mentioning about Nike losing $10 billion in the market cap in just under an hour because Trump slapped a 46% tariff on Vietnam, where Nike has over 450,000 workers and 130 factories. The stock created catered nearly 7% investors hit the panic button. That's not America first, that's tanking. And this is basically what happened when the tariffs were initially announced. The stock market literally crashed. Obviously, today we'll see how the US markets respond to that as well. So I also want to show you this article from Bloomberg before we come to the video with a breakdown from Ed Conway of Sky News. This is from Bloomberg here. Trump's tariff boosts have haven demand. As you can see, there is the graph there from Bloomberg's there. But I wanted to show you this at the bottom here, specifically here. This is today from them, so it may update as well. These are some of the main moves in the markets here, in terms of some of the reaction here. So S&P 500 future fell 2.8% as of 12:22 p.m. Tokyo time. Nikkei 225 RSE fell 3.7%. Japan's Topix fell 4%. Australia's S&P AXX fell 1.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 1.7%. The Shanghai Composite fell 0.5%. Euro stocks futures fell 1.7%. These are, this is stock market's reactions, obviously, to all of this. Currencies, the Bloomberg dollar spot index fell 0.7%. The euro rose from 0.6% to $1.09. The euro rose as a result of this. Japanese yen rose from 1.4% to 147.20 per dollar there. The offshore yuan fell to 0.1%, and the Australian dollar also fell to 0.0% there. Cryptocurrencies there. Bitcoin fell 2.6% to $83,000 there. And Ether, another cryptocurrency, which is quite popular at the moment, fell 3.2% as well. But in terms of bonds, the yields on the 10-year treasuries declined to 8 base points to 4.06%. Japan's 10 yield declined at 7.5% basis to 1.390% there. And Australia's 10-year yield declined 14 basis to 4.2%. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 2.2% to $70 a barrel. And the spot of gold, gold jumped. Gold jumped on the stock market shares I saw as well. The spot of gold rose by 0.5% to $3,149 an ounce. So gold rose as a result of this as well, guys, as well. I wanted to point that out, that gold has become more valuable as a result of this as well. and that's something that America seems to be taking on a lot more as well, is gold, which is fascinating as well as a result of all this, guys. So, like I said, I'm not an expert when it comes to economics, but I wanted to give you guys somebody who is. Some of you guys may have already seen the video already from Sky News. I will put a link in the description from them. And this is basically a bit of a breakdown from Econ Way of Sky News to kind of break down what exactly happened here. This is about 6 minutes and 39 seconds long. So let's have a listen to Trump's tariffs, what just happened.
Just give you a sense of what we know so far about this. There's still a few unanswered questions, but finally we got the detail on what Donald Trump meant by this Liberation Day. And let me just kind of start by showing you these bars are how high those tariffs, the US tariffs, are on various different countries around the world at the moment, or rather before Donald Trump came into office, and a quick kind of bit of revision on where we've come from so far. So threatened tariffs on Mexico and Canada. They were repeatedly threatened.
So you guys remember, obviously, when he threatened tariffs with them, and then he pulled them back and back and forth there, because obviously there's a fight over trying to impose it on his closest neighbors and rivals. But you can see there, they don't look too bad there at the moment, but that obviously changes as we go along.
Repeatedly rescinded or lifted, but they might well be back again, who knows. But for the time being, they're gone. We know we got an extra 10% tariffs on China, China 1.0, then another extra 10% tariffs on China 2.0, you might call them. And we're now kind of waiting to find out what will happen next. And we finally did find it out. Let's just start. There are two parts to this. Okay, so first of all, there is going to be a 10% baseline tariff. So you see all of these bars go up by 10%.
So every single country is going to get hit by this 10% tariff, which we've already established. One of the big cruxes as well, that's something that's also been, that's a major issue as well, I think is worth highlighting as well, guys, is Northern Ireland is in a very precarious position, because Northern Ireland are actually supposed to be under the 10% tariffs, but Ireland is under the 20% because it's part of the EU, which is creating a massive problem, there. So Northern Ireland is absolutely panicking right now as a result of this as well. So something needs to be addressed there when it comes to that.
Including, of course, the UK. But that, as far as the White House is concerned, is just a baseline. And then on top of that, there are different tariffs for different nations, what they call reciprocal tariffs. And they say they've gone through the numbers. They've looked at not just the tariffs that other countries around the world are charging the US, but also what they call non-tariff barriers, so other things. And they've worked out, by the way, Canada, those Mexico-Canada tariffs might well come back, so we might well start from that position. But reciprocal tariffs might push all of these bars, or will push all of these bars up considerably higher. So just look at how the picture of trade and tariffs in the US has changed dramatically.
And as we've seen already on some of those bars, but when you look at it from a graph point of view, that's incredibly frightening. It really, really is. I mean, especially for Vietnam, like that's gonna hurt their economy so much. A lot of Asian economies are really gonna get hit really hard when you think about this.
As a result of these measures, which are coming in the next few days. And just to give you a few highlights of what we're talking about, so you could look, for instance, over there at China. So China, that's a 34% reciprocal tariff, but it takes the total amount, provided that goes on top of the existing tariff, it takes the total amount up above 50%.
Then we've already mentioned about the China's going to be on that already, but yeah, that's really bad. And Mexico and Canada, obviously, it's like it can change at any time, really, that one as well. But man, oh man, those are bad.
And you're talking, you know, when tariffs are going above 50%, that makes any trade very, very difficult and far less likely to happen. So that's China, but you can probably see here, Vietnam as well. And the point here from the White House has been to say, listen, lots of Chinese goods going into the US, but also going through, being Vietnam and Cambodia as well, being conduits for goods to go to America. And the point here from Donald Trump is that the US wants to reindustrialize. And so it's all about trying to make things domestically. But finally, Look at the UK, 10% on the UK. And for many people here, obviously, it is a big increase on where things were before, only a few percent, the average rate for the UK. But that goes up to 10%. It is the best rate that anyone has amongst any nations. In fact, the best rate that any G7, any leading economy in the world has, and certainly better than the EU, all of whom are having to pay an extra 20% in total, so 10%, another 10% on top. But even so, all of this will potentially diminish the amount of trade going on around the world and diminish the amount of stuff going into the US. And finally, it's worth just saying, what was the stock market reaction? Well, this decision was made after markets had closed, but we can look at the futures market. This is the NASDAQ futures market, and look at what happened. It went up a little bit after the announcement, and then it's come down quite considerably. So a market reaction there, which implies that when markets open in Asia, and indeed when they were open across the US and Europe, we're going to see some falls to come as people respond to this.
We already saw, obviously, from the Bloomberg piece already, what some of the numbers are already going to be. Like I said, I'm not an economics, but so I just want to also say that a lot of people are also saying, before we go a bit more into this, is that a lot of people, the right wing, the Brexiteers, are calling this a Brexit victory because, in terms of the UK's position, because of the fact that we're not part of the EU. Listen, whatever. If we were part of the European Union, we would still be much better off. We would still be much better off than the situation we're in now. We are still in we are still in a cost of living crisis. We are still not in a very good situation right now in the UK. People are going to get hurt in terms of their pockets still. I've already mentioned time and time again, whenever people keep going on about the bloody minimum wage going up in the UK, they don't mention all the other bills that are going up. And all these costs, all these tariffs, they're going to, like I said, they're going to hit the UK one way or another. We are all going to feel it. So to try and paint in some way, shape or form that Brexit has kept more money in people's pockets is nonsense. The damage done to Brexit far outweighs the damage that's coming with these 10% tariffs. And I don't know the calculations, but feel free if you want to make your own calculations down in the comments below. But I generally do not believe that that whatever ripple effects that we get from the global tariffs and the 10% tariffs will outweigh the damage that Brexit has been doing to our UK economy and to Britain as a whole. I don't believe, but time will tell, because obviously we may get more imposed tariffs. We may even get pulled back on some tariffs, depending on our trade deal establishment with the United States.
Ed, take a seat. I've got another question for you. There is more coming out of the White House right now, senior White House officials, etc. Trump is to sign an order that closes the de minimis loophole. This is according to an aide. Tell us why that is significant and how it might affect a nation like China, for example.
So this is on top of all of those things we were showing you. De minimis basically means that for really small, kind of low-value items that are going in and out of countries, a lot of that stuff just isn't charged a tariff. So what is a tariff ultimately? It is just, we're going to charge you 20% on everything that comes into the country, although it's the recipient that actually pays it. But for fast fashion, for items that are going in that are relatively cheap, and this is a big thing for China, you've got companies like Shein who are sending stuff relatively cheaply from Guangdong and different parts of China. Right now, that's not subject to any tariffs. Donald Trump said earlier on, so when he had one of his early we're going to impose tariffs on China, he said, we're getting rid of de minimis. But then what happened was that suddenly in airports around the US, you were seeing massive big piles of goods that no one was quite sure what to do with, because it's an enormous administrative challenge. And I think that, Anna, is the bigger issue here. Raising all of these tariffs, different tariffs on different countries, and a kind of extraordinary smorgasbord of different numbers we've just seen, and Donald Trump, held up this chart of all of the different numbers. It is likely to just increase the amount of work that it takes for America to collect these tariffs. But the point that Donald Trump wants to make, can I show one more chart, as a bonus thing? But the point that Donald Trump wants to make is that back in a long time ago, the majority of federal revenues came from tariffs. raising money from tariffs, and right now that line is basically down, close to zero, kind of only a few percent. And his point is always, rather than raising money through income tax, couldn't we raise it again through tariffs? And I'll spare you the next charts, but point out that ultimately that is really, really tough to do. It's really tough in the modern world of 2025 when you have, welfare states, when you have Medicare, when you have, standing armies that are quite expensive. You can't just raise all of your money through tariffs. No one has been able to do that. And so that is the challenge that he's faced with right now. But what he wants to do is to be able to say, we're going to try and reindustrialize, hence all of those tariffs on China, on Vietnam, on Cambodia, and we're going to try and raise a bit of money from it in the process. And I think that's the selling point. But what comes next is the retaliation. We start to hear from, Europe, and we know they're going to retaliate. What comes next is more market reaction. And this is going to roll and roll. Even though we've got detail tonight, we're going to be talking about this for many weeks and months to come.
And we are going to be talking about it indeed for many weeks and months to come. Like I said, I got a link for that in the description. I do recommend checking it out from Sky News perspective. Ed Conway, really good with this kind of stuff, guys. And there's lots of economics out there as well, I'm sure, from CNN and other media outlets that break down these numbers. But the reality is, everyone is going to suffer from this massive transition, and I do call it a transition because America is looking to transition completely of how it operates in the world. No longer wants to stop relying on. While it has its own base, it wants to rely more on its base. It wants to stop relying on free trade. It still welcomes trade, but it wants to rely less on free trade. It wants to rely less on foreign countries for its businesses, for its people, and it wants to rely more on in America. And anybody that wants to do business or take part of things with America, you need to pay more. And the long-term goal here, of course, as we've been pointing out, increase US manufacturing, and try to put more money in people's pockets by getting rid of such as income tax and basically everything to be all their revenues to come from tariffs. But the problem is that we're in a different age right now, and this the one thing that I did notice, obviously, in all of this from everything that I have read is there weren't any tariffs imposed on Russia, and that might be because of Russia's situation currently right now. I think a question that I don't know if somebody's going to ask this question the next time they had the next White House meeting they have, but someone should ask, why hasn't Russia been imposed tariffs? And I think that's a good question. And it does kind of feel like to me as well. I said right at the start of this long video, I said to you guys, I don't think Trump is not the person behind this, because he didn't understand the board. Now, is this the Trump administration behind this? Is it people within his administration? Is it the billionaires who are behind this? Or is it possible that Russia are behind this to punish the world for what they have done to him and his country since they declared war on Ukraine in Europe? Just putting that possibility out there as well. So there's all sorts, but everyone is going to suffer unless you are a millionaire, billionaire. You're not going to get hit too hard. Even if you're a middle class person, you're still going to suffer in some way, shape, or form as a result of this as well. But everyone is going to feel the pinch in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, the ripple effects will affect everyone. So I've gone nearly 40 minutes, and I want to say, if you have watched the full 40 minutes, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this down in the comments below. Please feel free to leave your thoughts and feedback on this as well. What do you guys make of the tariffs? What do you guys make of certain specific countries? Have any of you got maybe a better understanding of why they are doing what they are doing? Did you find Ed Conway's video a bit more helpful to you when it comes to understanding these? Let me know your thoughts and more on all of this down in the comment section below. Now, if you found this video informative, helpful, and maybe a better understanding on Trump's tariffs, please hit that like button, and greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Really greatly appreciated. If you want to financially support me and the work that I do here on this channel, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. You can also find me on Rumble and Patreon, where I do exclusive content on those platforms as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.